his way. Hey, rock the cornet, come on, secret. Hey, rock the dons back to les filles.
Welcome to Upper Lafayette on the Move. I'm Jan Swift. I'm honored to have as today's guest Dr. Donald Aguillard, Superintendent of Lafayette Parish Public Schools. Don, so glad to have you on the show.
Listen, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. This is the second time that Don has been with us. You spoke at our Upper Lafayette July 2015 meeting, and we were just getting to know you then, but now we're at a spot where things are improving in the schools. We have a new high school being built in South Lafayette, and there's a lot of positive improvements going on. So it's a perfect time here in May 2016 to let us get to know you better and tell us about your vision. So
Sure.
Would you first tell us about your background and your teaching, both in Lafayette Parish and then in St. Mary Parish, if you'll go into that.
I will. So many of you know that I started in 1975 at Acadiana High School, was offered a full-time teaching position just following student teaching, taught about 11 years at Acadiana High School, and was fortunate enough to want to be a school administrator. I was offered an assistant principalship at Acadiana High School.
With Judy
Cox. Judy
my
Cox.
buddy.
She was my principal. So I worked about 11 years as an assistant principal, and then spent what I call 2 long years working at the central office.
Oh, was it?
I was in data processing.
Oh, what is that?
Data
At the time, what was
data
that?
processing is really just the mainframe computer that runs
Big.
payroll, scheduling for students and whatnot. And I really wanted to be a principal. And so a position opened up at Karen Crowe High School.
Oh.
And so in 2000, I applied to be the principal at Karen Crowe High School. Dave Luttrell was just retiring, served 4 years at Karen Crowe High as the principal.
That's a beautiful school.
It's a great school. I loved Karen Crowe High School, but I also had a yearning to really become the ultimate instructional leader, the superintendent of a school system. And so I applied for an opening in St. Mary Parish in 2004, and they offered me a position there. So I spent 11 long years in St. Mary Parish, but they were productive years. They really gave me the opportunity to really understand the complexity of running a school system. They're about a third the size of Lafayette, but they were also in the bottom 1/3 of school systems in Louisiana academically.
Where is that? Like what towns?
So
when you say St. Mary,
when
what
I
towns
say St. Mary, I'm
of?
thinking Morgan City,
Okay.
Berwick, Patterson, Franklin, those communities.
Just really small
Very
towns.
small.
Where were you based? In
Along
Morgan
Highway
City?
90.
What's the seat of St. Mary
Franklin.
Parish? Okay.
Franklin's
That's a beautiful
the parish
town.
seat.
Yeah.
St. Mary is an interesting dichotomy
It
as a
is.
school system, because on the east end, Morgan City, a lot of oil and gas and fishing assets. On the west end, mostly sugarcane farming. So a lot of differences in economics
Well, you've
in
got
St. Mary
people with
Parish.
big money, and then you've got a lot of people that are underprivileged.
Absolutely. And listen, St. Mary was, I told you, in the bottom 1/3 academically. They were struggling. They needed someone to help them raise test scores. And really, we talked about doing that. And quite frankly, I'm not sure anybody believed that it was possible to move the needle academically. But we did. We started to really show strong academic gains. Many of the ideas that I'm bringing to Lafayette, we actually piloted and perfected and proved in St. Mary that they could work. The last time accountability was measured in St. Mary was the last year's academic performance. They were in the top 1/3 of school systems in Louisiana.
And that's a short time to bring about that.
10 years is really a short
transformation.
time. We did many incredible things. We moved the graduation rate from 65% to over 80%.
That's incredible.
It's good stuff. And listen, just today, we issued a press release today talking about the Lafayette Parish graduation rate.
I saw that.
Yeah, so the graduation rate data comes out a full year after the actual graduation event. It takes a year for the data to be verified and proven to be accurate. So Lafayette in 2014 had a grad rate of 68.8.
I don't think people realize.
Very uncomfortable to say that a school system is graduating on
in a town like
only
this.
68.8%.
Right.
Well, the 2015 grad rate just came out today, and Lafayette Parish grew a very significant 7.1 percentage points. So the grad rate today, announced by the Department of Education, was 75.9.
For the last school year.
For 2015.
Let's talk about not only how that happened, because I know that was some accountability for kids, but what is a graduation? Like, how do you look at cohorts? People hear these buzzwords, but how do you even look at kids and how long they're in school?
So we'll try to make this as simple as we can. When a group of ninth graders first enter high school, they're considered a member of a graduating cohort. So that snapshot is taken just as they enter ninth grade, and then they're measured just exactly 4 years later, how many of those original ninth graders actually walked across the stage and received a high school diploma. The grad rate in Louisiana had been targeted to achieve 80% by 2014. The state was unable to meet that target, but all districts starting back in 2009 had been challenged to raise the grad rate.
Is that a typical grad rate around the country,
well,
80%?
80% is a good target.
It is?
80% is, let's not call it the Cadillac version. Let's not call it what we're finally targeting, but it's a good measure of effectiveness. Ideally, you would want to push that grad rate closer to 90%. So Lafayette has made significant progress from 2014 to 2015. So we're roughly at 76%. We were targeting getting to 80% by 2020. We are well on our way to really help kids in the Lafayette Parish school system. And what I'm most encouraged about is that as a community, we've been interested in the achievement gap. And we've seen the largest gain in grad rate in our African American population.
That's great. And those are the Upper Lafayette schools.
Those are the graduates that we're concerned about. And so in the case of Northside High School, they're going to be able to publicly announce shortly, once it's released by the state, they will have had a very significant gain in the African American graduation rate. That tells us that the programs in place in the Lafayette Parish school system, the efforts of the teachers and the principals in particular, targeting students is beginning to show gains for the system.
They've had two great principals at, Karen Crowe High has two with Ken Roebuck. I know he's retiring, but Julia Williams, and before her, Melinda.
Yeah, listen, the leadership has been outstanding.
Been great. Yeah.
And some people, maybe they've been at this a long time and they want immediate results.
But it's never going to be.
And the grad rate is such a complex event that sometimes it takes several years of concerted effort to begin to really move the needle and show evidence that you're doing the right things. And I think there's a lot of indicators in place today that give me great hope that Lafayette is on the move, and we know the kinds of things we need to do to help kids to be successful. I'm beyond overly optimistic that the Lafayette Parish school system is capable of becoming an A-rated school system. We just have to continue using our resources wisely, focusing on what kids need to be successful, and realizing that this isn't a quick fix. We didn't get where we are today overnight. It's going to take years of effort to really change what goes on in our classrooms and produce better graduates in return.
One of the programs that you and I both have discussed is called Fast Forward. And I know that in St. Mary Parish, you were a big proponent of that. And we had that program here in our school system in select schools, but I know now it's going to be more widespread. And I have to say that I learned about that. It was federally funded, I guess at the time. I'm not sure who funds it now, but my daughter Kelly, when she was in second grade, did that program the whole second grade year at J.W. Falk. She wasn't a student there. She was in a private school in St. Landry Parish, but they allowed us to go, and it totally transformed her reading abilities. It remaps the brain.
It does.
And it's fun. It's a fun, they let me do it. I mean, I would sit down and play the games.
It doesn't look like you're doing anything that has...
It's fun, like a fun video game.
Well, listen, so we did, you're right, we did use...
Tell us about that.
We used Fast Forward in St. Mary Parish. At first, we were using it in the lowest achieving schools in the district.
And that's what it was here, too.
And we studied this for 2 full years. We piloted Fast Forward in a couple of schools, and the academic gains were just
it's incredible.
Through the roof.
I know.
But listen, I want to tell you.
And it's just
I want to tell you about something that we're going to do next week.
Okay.
So we have 21 Fast Forward licenses in Lafayette Parish. We've been using it this entire school.
That's per school. You can do.
Well, a license is per school. So we've been using it with about 4,000 students.
Out of how many kids do we have?
Well, 30,000. Well, the interesting thing is that kids get measured based on how many years of reading growth they achieve. So we're bringing in 10 of our top performing students next week, and we're recognizing them.
That have gone through the program?
That have gone through the program. And 2 of the 10 students have gained 8 years of reading growth this academic year.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that changes a life.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
I know for Kelly, she was so little that she got used to the program at a very, I think, a great stage, but you're using this in different levels of education, right?
Yeah, we are. We have it at many elementary schools in the district, several middle schools. We are using it currently at Northside and Carencrow, and we're buying 3 more licenses next year, one of which will go to Acadiana High School. So we'll have 24 licenses in the district. We may be able to reach another 1,500 students. This is going to be a game changer for Lafayette.
It was in St. Mary Parish.
It was in St. Mary Parish.
Yeah.
This same event is going to happen here. We're going to see kids that can read more effectively, have greater critical thinking skills.
It's everything from listening, perceptions, learning how to put things together. It's a miracle, and I hate to sound goofy, but it really is a miracle.
Listen, it's a game changer, and it's going to give our kids a heads up ability to really get back on track. So I'm excited about this.
How much does that cost? It must be expensive, huh?
Well,
for a license.
You buy the license once. It's about $50,000 for a perpetual school license. So you buy it once, and then you own it forever.
Oh, and they just continually update?
Well, they continually update it, and there's a little bit of maintenance cost annually, but it's just an annual maintenance fee. The good news is that you own it. If you decide you need to move the license to a different school for whatever reason, you can.
Transfer.
You're permitted to do so. If you want to run every kid through the software annually, you can do that. There's no limit to how many children can use that software.
Do they have to do it on site? Can they log in from their home?
They can actually log in from home.
That to me is just, if we could have done that, that would have been great. But I think it's evolved.
Well, I'll tell you, in St. Mary Parish, we actually offered opening our labs after hours for adults to use.
I was thinking for adults that haven't learned, they haven't gotten their GED, it would be just a game changer, as you put it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, listen, there's a couple other things we did in St. Mary I want to talk about,
Okay.
if you don't mind. We realized in St. Mary Parish that one of the issues was student retention. When kids get held back at grade levels, we're seeing that we have too many students that have been retained 2 or more times. And when that happens, they have a very, very high probability of being a non-completer. So we're building programs that we used in St. Mary Parish. One of them is called Extended Day. So we're going to make the decision that rather than retain a 5th grader, we will conditionally promote that child to the middle school campus. So there'll be a 6th grader. We'll do the same thing in 6th grade and 7th grade. We'll conditionally promote students to keep them on track. And what we're doing is we're building an after-school remediation program that's mandatory.
If your grades or if you're held back.
If you're conditionally promoted rather than retaining
I see what
you.
you're saying, yeah.
What we're going to do then is we provide bus transportation so the kids will be able to get home. So rather than retain students, we're going to keep them moving with their cohort. And that's going to really help the number of overage children in Lafayette Parish. Once we get that population addressed through these remediation programs, we're going to have kids who are, by and large, with their appropriate grade level. So we're going to see fewer discipline problems on campuses. We're going to see higher student achievement. We're going to see more kids getting to 9th grade on time, and then ultimately more kids graduating.
Yeah, I've heard teachers talk about 8.5ers where they just can't move forward.
Yeah.
And it's not that they don't want to, but their skill set just wasn't right. Who will man the after-school programs?
Well, the schools, the teachers that work during the day are going to work those extra hours. They're going to be paid accordingly. The principals are excited about Extended Day. It's also going to be a game changer for Lafayette. We clean up the pipeline in terms of overage children. We'll have better climate and culture on campuses.
Does that help the, not that that's why you're doing it, but the graduation rate? If you keep the kids with their cohort and they can catch up.
It absolutely will.
It not only gives them self-esteem for staying in the program, but also it'll help our community, I think,
well, listen,
in many ways.
I mean, people have done research on the statistics of the probability of people 1 year behind or 2 years behind. When a child is 2 years behind, there's a better than an 85% chance there'll be a dropout. So we have to fix that problem. We fix that problem by giving kids remediation. We're not holding them back as punishment. We're moving them forward with guaranteed remediation. They're going to stay closer to their age group, and they're going to stay on track to be academically successful. All of that is part of our Vision 2020 plan.
Yeah, I know you wanted to mention that.
So I want to talk a little bit about that. So we were challenged by entities in Lafayette, One Acadiana, LePesque, and others to really put together a strategic plan, and we were happy to do so. So we did put together a plan that was modeled after the 100% in, 100% out plan the previous administration used. We re-tagged it Vision 2020, gave ourselves about 5 years to get where we want to be. So we have targets for graduation rate. We have targets for raising student achievement. We have targets to help the number of overage kids in the district. We have a tight academic plan that we put together called Vision 2020 that really looks at early childhood education, looks at elementary education, getting all kids to 4th grade on time, and then getting all kids out of 8th grade into the 9th grade, and then finally getting all kids to get a high school diploma. So we put that together as a roadmap to help us figure out how to move the entire district from where we are today to become an A-rated school system.
I know in the past plan, and I should know this, I apologize, but there was a big health and wellness component. Is that as important as the academic focus in Vision 2020?
Well, let me tell you, it's vitally important. Now, we've been downsizing the Lafayette Parish school system because of the taxes and the budget and whatnot. So we've been trimming back on those services, but we are still providing licensed practical nurses, registered nurses, social workers. We've had to scale that back, the number we have, but we recognize health wellness is crucial for a child to be ready to learn.
Right, and some of them go through so much that they're just not physically or mentally able to focus on schoolwork.
It's amazing that they can even function. Some of these kids are coming with serious physical issues, emotional issues. We really need to have those supports in place.
Right. We enjoy, from Upper Lafayette's perspective, we partner with some of the schools, and Acadian Middle, Northside High, Karen Crow, and I want to do more than we have been, but getting in there and seeing the teachers and the kids, it's so rewarding because they have everything, they have the tools, they're showing up ready, I guess I should say, but they need more help.
Well, and that's where the community can come in.
Giving them mentorships, acknowledging
I would encourage
what they're doing.
People out there wanting to help to really contact the principals and really, offer the assistance. It's really not about more money. It's about the adults.
I think the relationships.
It's the relationships that we build. I think we show to kids that this community cares about children's futures.
Right. Well, just today I spoke with Melanie, I can't think of her last name, Hines, the new interim principal at Acadian Middle. And she said, Jan, we're going to sponsor their closing ceremony for the high achievers and the band and those that go to school. It's a wonderful ceremony. But she said, do you think you'd have any members that would come in and mentor? I said, well, what does it involve? She said, just coming in and talking about what it's like to be a business person, what does it take to get through school, and what are good social skills. And I said, well, of course we're in. And that's going to be fun for everybody.
It will be. And listen, I want to put a plug in. We have 3 elementary schools in North Lafayette. Falk Elementary School, Boucher, and Karen Crow Heights in Karen Crow. We call them emerging schools. We don't want to label them D schools. All 3 of those elementary schools are having summer programs for elementary students. We want to stop that summer slide in academics.
Which all kids have. So
any adult that wants to come into those schools and be a role model, be a mentor, be an advisor, just be a cheerleader to help those kids understand that we value these programs. I would encourage people to go out to those schools this summer.
So they would just call the principal at the schools?
They would just call the principals and come in and maybe sit and read with the child, or sit and talk about the importance of good academic discipline. Anything you can do to help these children be encouraged to stay on track to be successful.
Can you be a high school student and do that, or do you want adults that are out of school to come in and read?
It really makes no difference. I think high school kids could be very effective with elementary students, but listen, adults could be as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just to have children know that the adults care about their success.
And we're going to have to close. I do want to say, though, the importance of us volunteering is that we get in the schools and we see the condition of the schools. And we also see what the teachers do. So we are just about out of time. I'm going to have to thank you, Dr. Dawn Aguillard, Superintendent of the Lafayette Parish Public Schools. This went by way too fast. I want to talk about more. We'll get you back on the show.
Please,
but thank you for all you're doing.
That. Thank you.
And best wishes on a successful Vision 2020. And I also want to thank you for watching the show today. I'm Jan Swift with another episode of Upper Lafayette on the Move. You can see this show on AOC the 2nd and 4th Thursday of each month at 8:30 p.m. You can also see this show on our website, upperlafayette.com. Thank you so much.